Now, a computer virus wreaked havoc on firms around the globe on Wednesday as it spread to more than 60 countries, disrupting ports from Mumbai to Los Angeles and halting work at a chocolate factory in Australia. And that is exactly how the Reuters news agency reported the latest cyber attack from Ukraine. And this, according to the Telegraph, is to cause havoc rather than extort money. Again this week, the UK House of Parliament has been targeted by a consistent hacking attempt to access email information. The world is obviously at risk as it explores the immense benefits of World Wide Web. In Ghana, therefore, calls for ministerial response to the country's cybersecurity is not misplaced. Parliament, as we know, will be summoning National Security Minister Albert Kandapa over what they say is the rising national security scare being posed to the country by cyber attacks and breach of data laws. Now, Minister for Interior Ambrose Derry and that's for Communication Esla Owusu are expected to be in the House to provide some responses. Hopefully that will be next week. But today we'll be engaging an IT expert on this matter. We're also asking you to share with us on our Facebook page your greatest internet fears. First, let's hear from Deputy Majority Leader Adwoa Safo on this matter as she raised it on the floor of Parliament.
And be able to hack into the Ministry of Defense database or the Ministry of Interior database. That is serious threat to our national security. And even the Electoral Commission, Mr. Speaker, many of us as members of Parliament and as ministers of state have suffered impersonation on social media. And I'm one example.
All right, so that is Deputy Majority Leader Adwoa Safo in Parliament there. Well, I have in the studio with me a very vibrant gentleman who likes to be described as an all-round geek. His name is Nkrumah. Nkrumah is social media and creative supervisor here at the Multimedia Group Limited. Kobe, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, well, before I engage Kobe, here's just a few information about cybercrime that you'd want to know. We have a bit of graphics here for you so you can have an idea of the extent of the problem and what we're talking about. Now, cybercrime, we're told, shifted from economic espionage to political sabotage. So if we're talking about economic espionage, and Kobe, I'll let you speak to all of these once I'm done going through them. From people stealing trade information and trade ideas to people trying to actually sabotage nation states and sabotage the political processes in countries. Now, emails are usually the weapons of choice. So people would rather, or hackers would want to target emails because 1 out of 131 emails contained, we're talking about 2016, contained malicious software. Now, business email compromise, which is scams, targeted over 400 business. A weapon of choice. How is it that people are able to access even though they don't have your password, they're able to get into the system and use your email address to send other people, to send emails to other people, sometimes demanding money, etc.
Yeah. So it's quite, I would say it's based on people's ignorance most of the time. There's an easy way, like I send an email to you with phishing content. So phishing means that I've put a sort of a code that when you click on, it takes you to a website that looks like your normal Gmail or your normal Yahoo that you'd log in. So you'd enter your username and your password thinking that you're trying to log in, but you're actually sending that detail to me.
To you. Hold on for me briefly. I have on the telephone line, though, Albert Nchibwe-Siako. He is also a cyber security expert and founder of E-Crime Bureau, and I'm bringing him in on this conversation. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Hi. Thank you. Good afternoon to you and your viewers.
Let me find out from you how big an issue this is. How would you describe it?
Well, cybercrime, cybersecurity issues are becoming significant issues, not only for individuals, organizations, but for the state at large. The fact that you have invitation to 3 sector ministers from our parliamentarians highlights for me 2 critical things. One, is emerging concerns about cybercrime and data protection issues in the country. I think you've elaborated a few of those incidents, whether it's abuse on social media, hacking into email system, attacks targeting media, website, and so on and so forth. But for me, that's the first development. It highlights certain concerns around our cyber environment as a country. Number two, which is also the positive aspect of this highlight, the seriousness that our lawmakers attach to this emerging issue. Right. So on one hand, there is a recognition of the fact that our life within the cyberspace faces some risks that we need to address, and that is why I think the ministers who matter when it comes to cyberspace within the country have been invited by the House to discuss those matters.
How prevalent is it in Ghana? I mean, I've put together some statistics here, and of course they mention the United States as being the biggest, of course, and the softest target of such attacks as well. And then there's also the issue about how it's shifted from economic espionage to more of political sabotage. If we were to relate this to Ghana, what information can you give us?
Well, I think it's the same situation. The cyber security environment in Ghana has evolved. The cyber crime landscape, so to speak. Initially, we handled cases of more of this online fraud, you know.
Which we call 419?
Exactly. These are more like psychologically driven cybercrime types. Now we have more technically, you know, scope. In other words, the cybercrimes that are being reported now are technical in nature. We have hackers in this country who are developing malicious code to attack infrastructure. We have compromises in databases, and that is the major dynamic in terms of our sphere. Right. So it's becoming highly technical, highly complex, and that is what we have built up as far as our analysis of the cyber security landscape within the country concerns. But you are right to mention the fact that cybercrime is not just going to be economic crime, economic as in financial crime. But of course, generally, more than 75% of cases that we have investigated are financially motivated. There's the money. But you have a major dynamic where, of course, the political space, whether it's election issues,
and it appears there's people who just want to, like what happened yesterday from Ukraine. It appears, well, that's what the newspapers, newspaper portals are reporting, that it appears it was just to create havoc, not necessarily for monetary gains.
Well, I think we don't have the full facts, but that equally remains one of the motives of attack. It's not just the money, it will be political protest. It will just be just a sabotage. We just want to bring down this infrastructure. So depending on who is behind the attack, then you can establish the motive for that kind of attack. I think within the country, we need to look at those things and see what are the priorities in terms of our cyber risks, the data breaches, which, you know, the parliamentarians highlighted about in their submission. And you have also followed the work that Data Protection Commission has been doing within the last few weeks. So these are the national highlights, if I should put it that way, as far as our cyber crime, cyber security issues are concerned.
So as an expert, you are confident that addressing or raising this issue on the floor of Parliament, for instance, is the way to go?
Absolutely. I think for me, what I mentioned was, it tells me as a practitioner, it doesn't happen very often. And if we have our parliamentarians who represent the people who make the laws are showing interest, I believe that is a step in the right direction. And I believe the secretary ministers will respond and explain to them what actions are being taken across the various sectors in addressing this problem. I think we need to step up our cyber readiness, and I think what is happening is in the right direction.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. I believe that this is a subject that we may need a lot more time on going forward. We may be able to create a platform so we can have a further conversation about it. Albert Nchubuesiako is a cybersecurity expert. We've been talking. Now, before he came on, you were telling us about, you know, the one-on-one kind of explanation. How do I know that someone like you is hacking into my system and using my email to send, you know, all kinds of emails around? And most of the time you see them sending around porn. Yes.
Most of the time, a lot of people use the same password across, you know, different services.
Okay.
And if I'm a hacker and I gain access to one database that wasn't secure enough, I have, you know, countless emails and passwords. All I have to do is just keep trying them on different services, and if I'm lucky, I get in.
Okay.
Sometimes we also phish, like I was explaining, where I can send you a malicious email. You wouldn't know because they're smart. They can either just make it look like what you usually use. So it comes as an email coming from a G with an E email. So something like geemail.com. It wouldn't occur to you that it's possibly not from Gmail.
Okay.
And then it asks you to re-verify your account, asks for your username and your password. Also, innocently, just go in there and then you go and type in your username and password. You just sent it to a criminal. So with that, they can log into your system and then do anything that they want. So as it stands right now, people just need to be proactive. People need to learn more about cybersecurity. We've gotten comfortable with our phones, our computers, but are we learning how to protect ourselves?
How do we protect ourselves? I mean, the example that you gave has become quite prevalent. So people are aware now that if I receive an email from Nkrumah and I have not discussed this issue with him, then I should find it suspicious.
Yes.
But beyond that, there are still other ways that they could still get into the system.
Using insecure networks, for instance, you go to an airport, it's free Wi-Fi, you're on it. If I'm a hacker and I'm on that same network and I have the right tools, I can get any information that you're sending to and fro. I can actually even intercept your email and then send it on your behalf, receive it on your behalf, and you wouldn't know. So a lot of people are looking for free Wi-Fi because data is expensive.
Yeah.
So they get free Wi-Fi, they jump on it, they do all their conversations, social media, sending emails, even bank transactions on insecure networks. That's very dangerous. If you're doing such, you know, transactions on a network and I'm on the network and I'm a black hat hacker, which means I'm a bad hacker, all I have to do is just grab those cookies or that information, and then I log in as you, and I can transfer all that money to myself.
So basically, accessing free Wi-Fi
is
not something that you want to.
You do that to just read news, and then you're done. Don't go use free Wi-Fi to send emails or do your own conversations. It's not good. It's not secure.
Even if it's provided by the airport, which is an established organization.
It's free. It's open. Anyone can be on the network.
Okay.
Unless you have super high grade security, which is, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like a fail-safe secured, you know, system.
The data that I have here also points to cloud, the use of cloud or the reliance of cloud, creating vulnerability. I mean, we in the media, for instance, we rely a lot on the cloud. Of course, we put a lot of information in there because you don't even, I mean, you're not sure of an archive system. This looks like an easy archival system.
Yes.
How does it create vulnerabilities?
Like I said in the first place, if this system, this cloud you're using, you log in with a certain username and password. And then this same username and password, a lot of people use on different other sites. So if I hack into this cloud system, I can get all that information that you've backed up to the cloud. Also, a lot of people rely on the cloud and forget about physical backups.
Okay.
And these attacks that are coming right now, they're ransomware attacks, which means that they take your data and then they encrypt it and ask you to pay a ransom before they release it to you.
Okay.
So if you're keeping this data on the cloud and then that service is hacked and then it's encrypted and they ask you to pay a ransom for it's released and you don't have a physical backup sitting somewhere, you have to pay.
I see.
Exactly.
Because if you don't pay, then you don't get
your
to
data.
access your data. Well, hang on a bit. I have Joseph on the line now. Hello, Joseph. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Gifty.
You disappeared from the screen.
Gifty, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about cybersecurity, which is one of the issues that were raised on the floor of Parliament yesterday by no less but the Deputy Majority Leader who had an experience with this. Did anything come up on it today?
Not yet, and so she wasn't the only one who expressed concern about the situation. There was an initial statement that came from another member of parliament raising concerns about the kind of data laws we have in the country and the way a lot of unauthorized agencies have access to data that is supposed to be personal to one individual or the other. And then the issue was thrown in by the Deputy Majority Leader, Adjwasafo, who expressed concern about incidents that we've had in this country about the websites and the systems of the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior being hacked. She again made reference to situations where there's been advertisement being put out on some websites about recruitment involving the Ghana Police Service, which wasn't actually the case, something that she said had again been attributed to cyber fraud to a certain extent. She went on to make reference to situations of impersonation and noted that herself, she is someone who is not on social media, but there is someone who's gone to build up an account of hers on social media and is using it for all sort of things, putting out comments which are not hers and attributing it to her. And then she drew attention to a situation where someone had again put out a Facebook account of the Minister for Interior, Ambrose Derry. On that page, some soliciting is ongoing, and people are being promised jobs within the Ghana Police Service and all of that. And she indicated that this is something she sees as a national security threat that should be dealt with. And so, after she delivered that particular statement, the speaker who was in the seat as at then, that's First Deputy Speaker Joseph Osei-Osu, directed that going forward, it will be expected that sometime soon the Minister for National Security, that's Albert Kandapa, and also the Minister for Interior, Ambrose Derry, who the indication is he's also been impersonated on the cyberspace for some time now, and then the Minister for Communications, Esla Owusu, appear before the House and brief members of Parliament on the ongoing efforts to make the country a lot more secure. But even before that, there was a response from the Deputy Communications Minister, George Anda, who indicated that this is a problem that's actually come to their attention, and they've actually begun some efforts. They are expanding on the kind of firewalls that they use to protect the kind of websites that they build, and those are some of the measures that they are undertaking to help make the cyber system, when it comes to government operations, a lot more secure. Okay,
thank you very much, Joseph, for that update. Of course, we're looking forward to having those members of Parliament and the Minister to brief us on how safe we should feel as Ghanaians using the World Wide Web. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent. Before he came on, I mean, he keeps talking about hacking and impersonation, etc. Is there hacking, is hacking such a serious thing in Ghana from where you sit? I mean, you'll be monitoring some of these things. Hacking is a serious thing. It's just that we haven't taken it seriously. And most of the time, most of us have gotten hacked, but we just... Because we don't know that we're being hacked? We don't know we've been hacked. Okay, well, I know when I'm being hacked, at least when you send me an email, and sometimes I can, send you an email and say, get off my stuff. That's not good, right? That's your way of dealing with it. But you could actually be hacked and not know for a very long time. Wow. You could have a bot sitting on your computer, and it's just waiting to be activated. Bots are some kind of software that people have created, and they use them for... You remember some time ago, websites went down, My Joe Online, Ghana Web. Those were, targeted attacks, and you need a massive number of computers to issue these attacks. So these bots, they sit dormant on computers, waiting for their owner to just issue an attack, and then they all access a website at the same time. Wow. And that will definitely bring the website down. And make it crash. Distributed denial of service attack. Wow. So you might be hacked, but you'd never know it. I see. How would you advise, I mean, as someone who monitors, all of these data and how they move, etc. How would you advise people on how they use social media and how they can ensure their own security and security of their information? A lot of times people make simple mistakes like using a public computer to access their personal information, and then they don't log out, or they... First of all, even if that computer is infected and you just log in, you've just given your information out. If I install a keylogger on that computer and you just came to type in your username, your password, you did whatever you did, and you signed out, that keylogger has stored your details. You see, so it's just... How do you know? You wouldn't be able to know if it's not your computer. Okay.
So a public computer, it's very, it's very risky for you to do something like that. Also, I wouldn't advise people to just, if it's your personal information, just share it on a normal network. Like, okay, so you install the latest software, latest antiviruses, make sure your computer is always updated, because this WannaCry virus that came out quite recently, it attacked computers that hadn't been updated. Okay. Microsoft released an update last year in March, but a lot of people hadn't updated, and then they ended up being infected. And a lot of industries have computers that haven't been updated. Reason being that then they have to update all their services and all the other software.
And it costs too much.
It costs too much.
But it actually costs much more if your system is attacked.
Exactly.
I see. What will be your final word? We're looking at some very worrying statistics here. They say that 5 African countries lost $895 million to the menace, and I think this is in 2016. And it shows that what Nigeria recorded. Let me just go to what Ghana recorded. Ghana recorded about 50 million. But how do you know that you're losing this amount of money? And is it for real?
It's their statistic. I can't really prove it because I don't have that data. But it's a worry in Ghana when you see people still using an operating system as old as Windows XP.
Why is it worrying?
It's been discontinued.
So?
And most of the exploits are, still active on these systems.
Okay.
So, I mean, the latest software is always updated. All the bugs are patched. All the holes are plugged. So sometimes, you turn on your computer and it tells you Windows is being updated. Yeah. Please wait. It might be an inconvenience at that time, but it's actually for your own good. Okay. And most of us don't buy software in Ghana. We're always stealing software. So as a result, we can't update, because if you update, they realize that, hey, this software is stolen, and then they block you.
They block you.
Exactly. So my advice, people should just learn to buy software. It helps the developer and it keeps you safe too.
I know someone called Gomez who won't buy a software. Anyway, Gomez is the director. I didn't say you won't buy. Not that you won't buy, but you will get a secured one. So. Key things that you should take away from this discussion, I should say, is that beware of Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. Beware of free Wi-Fi. Don't just log in. If you're using a free Wi-Fi, you're looking at just reading the news perhaps and looking up places that you wouldn't need to put in your personal details, because once you put it in there, it's like you open yourself up to all of these attacks. Buy software, update your computer systems regularly, and what again? Get an antivirus software. Is that it? And keep it updated.
And be proactive. That's the most important part.
Proactive?
Yes. When I say be proactive, there's certain, you might have the best antivirus software, but you go and click on that link that is infected, you're going to infect yourself regardless.
Okay.
So you just need to be, pay attention to whatever you're doing online. Stay safe online. Don't just, even if it is your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin, anyone, don't just open anything you don't trust.
Okay, don't just open anything you don't trust. I hope that helps you some way, somehow. But of course, it sounds to me like a discussion that we may have to continue. Bear in mind, next week we're going to Parliament to hear more of what our legislators are going to do about this, what our ministers are going to do about protecting the cyberspace for all of us. Thank you very much, Mr. Nkrumah, for coming through. Spiky, you can call him Spiky, and he said he likes to be described as an all-round geek, whatever that means for him. Okay, so away from cybersecurity, President Akufo-Addo last night avoided swaying into the internal politics of Zambia, but ended up with an address at a state dinner organized for him, with a call on Zambia to respect the rights of individuals and the rule of law. The president is on a 3-day state visit to the southern African country to deepen ties and strengthen areas of trade and investment. But his visit comes at a time that the main opposition leader, Hakainde Hichilema, and 5 others are facing treason charges. When President Akufo-Addo took the microphone to address the gathering at the State House, he would neither condemn nor criticize the political happenings in the country. He chose rather to advise them to put the interests of Zambia ahead of all other considerations.
There can be no future prosperity for our peoples in the short, medium, or long term if we continue to maintain economic structures dependent on the production and export of raw materials. Unless we industrialize with the goal of adding significant value to our primary products, We cannot create the necessary numbers of good-paying jobs that will enhance the living standards of the masses of our country. Africa has a market of 1.2 billion people, which will expand to 2 billion people in 20 years. This means that a genuine continental market in Africa should be in our economic interest, for it will present immense opportunities to bring prosperity to the peoples in our continent with hard work, creativity, and enterprise. We should no longer delay the process of African integration. A functioning common continental market has to be a very fundamental objective of all the peoples and governments on the continent, an objective that will consolidate the process of structural transformation of our national economies on which we must be engaged. We must put in place deliberate measures aimed at expanding trade and business collaborations to improve the prospects for prosperity of our peoples. The Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation should serve as the legal framework for addressing our mutual trade and investment concerns.
President Akufo-Addo in Zambia. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty Andopia. I'm going to take a very quick break. I'll be right back. Please don't go away.